Hey kids, today I am going to give you the oral recording for the Chemistry Review Check for Understanding. I believe there are 12 questions associated with this for both the pre-AP and on-level kiddos. Before we get started, make sure you understand that you need to get a 70 or higher to get credit for the assignment. And please make sure that you've gone through the necessary material and previewed that, reviewed that to make sure you understand it before taking the check for understanding. Okay, so here we go. Okay, notice that we've gone ahead and put in a periodic table here. You can also get one off of the Google Classroom Drive if you need access to it on a different tab, or if you want to print it out if you have the capacity to do that. It may actually be pretty helpful. Okay, here we go. Obviously, the first thing you're going to do is put in your name, put in who your wonderful science teacher is, either Miss Lovern or myself. What class period do you have science? And here we go. First question. How many neutrons does an atom of fluorine have? So reference your periodic table, find fluorine, and remember kids, use 8-man. 8-man is your friend. Does fluorine have 9 neutrons, 19 neutrons, 10 neutrons, or 23 neutrons? Number 2. Coming straight from the slides, make sure you can, like I said, you've previewed those to make sure you know how to answer these questions. I have a negative charge and almost no mass. Who am I? Am I a proton, a neutron, an electron, or a diatron? Sounds like something from Cybertron. Okay, number 3. I'm in group 3 or 13, depending on what you want to use, and period 2. So look at where they intersect, kids. Who am I? Am I neon, lithium, magnesium, or boron? Question number 4. Again, look at using 8-man on this one. How many neutrons does an atom of boron have? Remember, kids, that you want to round to the nearest whole number when you're finding your atomic mass. Otherwise, you may potentially get the wrong answer. Does boron have 5 neutrons, 6 neutrons, 11 neutrons, or 16 neutrons? Question number 5. What is the atomic number for an element that has 4 neutrons? Is it beryllium, carbon, neon, or lithium? Which of those 4 elements has 4 neutrons? Number 6. What is one way I can determine the mass of an atom? I can A, add up the mass of the protons and electrons, B, add up all the subatomic particles in the nucleus, C, add up the neutrons and electrons, or D, add the protons and neutrons and then subtract the electrons. Remember kids, we're really interested in 2 of the subatomic particles have mass. The other one really doesn't, so look through your notes to make sure you get that one correct. Number 7, how many electrons are present in the outer shell of argon? Remember, those are your valence electrons, kids. So find argon. Remember, it's synonymous with your group number. Am I going to have 18 valence electrons, 40 valence electrons, 8 valence electrons, or 48 valence electrons? Remember that our group can tell us quite a bit of information in terms of our valence electrons. Number 8, identify the unknown element. And kids, please do not try to count this up. I do not want you doing that. Remember, that's not how we learned it in class. Remember, A equals P equals E. So if I know that information, I should be able to understand how to come to the correct answer. Is this unknown element A, carbon, B, nitrogen, C, oxygen, or D, fluorine? Question number 9. What is the smallest particle of sodium that contains all of the characteristics of sodium? As an example, kids, think about when you were making cookies with mom. And mom says, okay, honey, I need you to get down, the butter, the sugar, the flour, the chocolate chips, and so forth. If I forget to add in one of those components, do I still have chocolate chip cookies, or do they not taste like chocolate chip cookies? So major hint there. In order for me to have all the characteristics of sodium, do I need to have an atom of sodium, a proton of sodium, a neutron of sodium, or the protons and neutrons combined for sodium? Think about all the things that are needed in order for something to be considered sodium. Number 10. Why is the proton important in chemistry? It determines identity, it determines reactivity, it determines the charge of the atom, or it determines its function. Number 11. How many valence electrons does an atom of silicon have? So find silicon, kids. Remember how we find valence electrons. Does silicon have 3 valence electrons, 4 valence electrons, 14 valence electrons, or 15 valence electrons? Last question. Which of these two comparisons is most accurate? You could have an orange represent a proton and an orange represent a neutron, while a speck of sand represents an electron. You could have an orange represent a proton, an orange represent a neutron, and a golf ball represent an electron. C, an orange could represent a proton, a speck of sand could represent a neutron, and an orange represent an electron. Or D, an orange could represent a proton, an orange could represent a neutron, and a bowling ball could represent an electron. Once you've answered those questions and checked your work, kids, please make sure you click the send button so that Ms. Lovren or I will get the results back. And this concludes the oral recording for the Chemistry Review Check for Understanding.